Hey everyone, welcome back to another Explainer. Let's just dive right in, shall we? Today, we're shining a really bright light on a truly fascinating keynote address by Dr. Neeraj Bajracharya. We're talking big, cinematic ideas here, specifically how we transform cultural pride into an active, living practice. Dr. Bajracharya originally delivered this at the Non-Resident Nepali Association Knowledge Convention, but, the ideas he explores, they reach way beyond just one community. We're going to explore how we connect with the traditions we're born into and, well, more importantly, what we actually do with them.
So, right off the bat, we're hit with this incredibly provocative question. Is it enough to just celebrate a historical fact? It's a hook that really challenges us, right? Think about it. When you claim a monumental piece of history, like the birthplace of the Buddha, does that inheritance carry a deeper responsibility than just celebration? It's super easy to throw a parade or point to a map, but Dr. Bajracharya argues that claiming this kind of heritage, it actually demands something much more rigorous of us than just cheering from the sidelines.
To really get his perspective, let's look at the status quo. For a lot of Nepalis living abroad, these are literally the very first words they use to introduce their country. Nepal is the land of Mount Everest and the birthplace of the Buddha. And honestly, it makes total sense. It's this deep, completely understandable national pride. Everest represents this extraordinary, soaring physical geography. And the Buddha? He represents a soaring spiritual history with a global impact. But here's the catch. While geology is pretty much fixed, spirituality requires upkeep.
Section 1. A life-changing question.
Sometimes the most profound shifts in our understanding come from the absolute simplest moments. Just look at the contrast in Dr. Bajracharya's own background. He came to the US, earned a PhD in mathematics, became a university professor, worked as an industry consultant. Basically, his entire professional life was built on intense inquiry, reasoning, and really disciplined analytical thinking. Yet, despite being raised in a traditional Newar Buddhist family, he realized he had totally compartmentalized his life. He had never actually subjected his own religious and cultural inheritance to that same bright light of deliberate inquiry. It was just something he accepted.
Well, that is, until one summer evening back in 2014, a visiting friend asked him what seemed like a super simple question. They asked, the Buddha gave the 5 precepts, but what else did he really give us? Now, the question was simple, but Dr. Bajracharya's inability to answer it absolutely was not. He just couldn't answer it. He actually calls this his Newton's apple moment. This one completely ordinary encounter acted as the catalyst for a massive intellectual journey.
So Dr. Bajracharya had to confront a really uncomfortable truth. Reverence is not the same as understanding. Reverence means knowing the rituals, the traditions, the cultural stories, and he had all of that down. But understanding? Understanding means knowing what was actually discovered, what the actual mechanics of the philosophy are, and what was genuinely offered to humanity. Respecting a tradition is a wonderful thing, for sure, but it is an entirely different ballgame from truly comprehending it.
Moving into Section 2, Beyond Ethical Rules.
The absolute crucial point here is found in how we define the Dhamma. The Buddha's contribution was so much more than just a list of ethical rules, like the 5 precepts. His teachings, like the Four Noble Truths, are actually the mechanics of human perception and suffering. They dig into exactly why we suffer, the root causes, and the path to freedom. The Dhamma isn't just some proposition you blindly believe in. It's an active process. It's this brilliant, open invitation to investigate and practice for yourself.
See, the Buddha didn't just walk around telling people to be peaceful. He actually showed how suffering is directly wired into how we perceive, desire, and react to things. True peace, therefore, isn't just some grand geopolitical concept or the mere absence of conflict between nations. It starts much, much closer to home. It begins right in your own mind, your own speech, and your own everyday actions toward other human beings.
Which brings us to Section 3, Inheritance, Identity, and Practice.
This introduces a truly fascinating core paradigm shift about how we as humans connect to our belief systems, regardless of what part of the world we're from. It's the distinction between heritage versus accomplishment. Listen, inheritance is passive. Being born connected to the birthplace of the Buddha, or frankly into any rich tradition, is a remarkable inheritance. But we don't choose our birthplaces, right? Because of that, inheritance alone is not a personal accomplishment. Accomplishment is what we actively do with what we've been handed. It's how we understand it and consciously work to preserve its value.
So this builds into 3 very distinct dimensions of connection.
Step 1 is inheritance. This is what gives us our heritage, the traditions and stories we're just born into. Step 2 is identity, saying something like, I am a Buddhist, which gives us a great sense of community and belonging. But the journey shouldn't stop there. Step 3 is practice. Inheritance gives heritage, identity gives belonging, but only practice gives that heritage life. Practice is where the philosophy actually transforms how you see the world every single day.
Which leads us straight to the most crucial question of all. I want you to take a moment and genuinely ask yourself this. How much of the Dhamma is visible in the way I live? Honestly, it doesn't matter what tradition you belong to or how long you've identified with it. Calling oneself a Buddhist ultimately boils down to everyday conduct. Are you cultivating wisdom, mindfulness, and non-hatred when you're just going about your Tuesday afternoon?
And now, Section 4, the universal responsibility. Broadening our lens here to a universal application for, well, absolutely anyone watching this explainer, Dr. Bhattacharya outlines 4 pillars of responsibility for those who want to actively engage their heritage. First up, preserving heritage through documentation and education. Second, fostering unity. He gives this beautiful example of a walk for peace where monks and supporters from diverse global Buddhist traditions all walk together for a common purpose. Third is empowering scholarship, which actually led him to create Elevate, a Buddhist journal to spotlight scholarly work. And fourth, living the values, because let's face it, preservation means absolutely nothing without actual human conduct.
Let's piece together this really simple equation: scholarship plus practice. Dr. Bhattacharya emphasizes that studying text and history isn't somehow separate from practicing the religion. In fact, doing the hard, rolling up your sleeves work of scholarship is exactly what allows us to distinguish the truly essential philosophical mechanics from what is merely customary or just a cultural habit. It's the only thing that prevents a vibrant, living tradition from slowly fading into a dusty collection of empty customs. As we bring all these big, illuminating ideas together, we arrive at this absolutely crucial point. The Buddha's birthplace belongs to history. The Dhamma belongs to practice. Yes, preserving monuments and celebrating festivals are highly valuable. They definitely connect us to our history, but true heritage isn't kept alive by bricks and mortar alone. It is kept alive by transforming the human mind. I want to wrap up our explainer today by leaving you with this incredibly powerful, provocative final thought from Dr. Bhattacharya. We cannot choose where the Buddha was born, but we can choose whether his Dhamma lives through us. It's such an incredible call to action. It challenges every single one of us to look at our daily actions and ask if we are just passively inheriting the world, or if we are actively practicing the values we claim to hold dear. So think about what you are inheriting, and way more importantly, what you are practicing today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.